Step in. Tune in. Lights up. We begin.
So this is episode number 5 of the Sports Lab with myself, Damien, and Sian. How's it going?
Good, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. Better move away from... something was creaking behind me, so I had to move away from it.
Yeah, it's been a busy few weeks, hasn't it, with the marathon, and London Marathon, that is. And but we've also had Manchester and Brighton, I think, since I last saw you.
Yep. And how are, these times for you? Building up and then post?
Building up is really busy because always you get the last minute injuries. People that want me to fix them within a week before their marathon. So that's always quite busy. Post, I don't see as much of it, and you probably see more of the post stuff than I do. I obviously do get the injuries that still come through, but I think that my busiest time is probably the pre-run stuff.
Yeah, I guess everyone's trying to cram everything in, and it's quite funny. The closer it gets, there's something called paranoia, where you start to overthink things. You start to do things that you don't ever usually do. So you're like, oh, I need a massage. Have you had a massage the whole training camp or training plan? No, you haven't had a massage the whole... But why are you going to get one now? Oh, because someone said you've got to have a massage every 3 weeks. But have you been having them? Well, don't have one before the marathon. It's the worst thing you can do.
It's like the panic, isn't it?
Yeah, because with sports massage in particular, it takes 3 or 4 massages for your body to learn how to absorb a massage. So the worst thing you can do, is going... Because if someone pushes you, what are you going to do? You're going to tense up and try and repel it, is it? Or resist it?
You resist it.
If you're going to get massages, learn how to have a massage.
That's interesting. I think from the injury point of view as well, I don't tend to see those patients straight away because you know what it's like, people get an injury and just think, oh, I'll just rest it for a few days, it will be okay, I'll get better. And then the post-marathon injuries tend to come to me 6 weeks after, not week after. Because
it didn't clear up.
Yeah,
and
because they think it's
probably hurting.
Right.
So, yeah, so I ran London 2022 or 2023, and I was still off the back of plantar fasciitis then. But I would say my plantar fasciitis was the least it ever hurt for 2 weeks after the marathon, because everything else was sorer than the plantar fascia, and it had a nice steady workout. Because obviously a marathon, you're not really... I know it's repetitive and it's long, but it's the speed work that inflame and aggravate the plantar fascia and the lower with what is lower leg injuries. A marathon probably won't, because you're going to have to run it at a comfortable pace the whole way to get around it.
Yeah, and you're loading the tissues repetitively in the same way, so your body then gets used to the load. Yeah. And as we know, plantar fasciitis is an overload injury, so if your body's therefore used to taking that load, it's not going to be too aggravated. Yeah. It's the overload of that tissue that is when it, like you said, if you suddenly increase speed or you suddenly increase terrain, change terrain.
Yeah, change to a tougher terrain. So
just different terrain. Doesn't need to even be tougher. Just if you're used to running on a treadmill and then suddenly you decide to run up a mountain, it's going to put a different type of stress through different parts of your whole body.
For sure. Yeah, there is some evidence to suggest that treadmill running, especially if you have it on zero incline, it actually could cause more injuries for you going into some sort of marathon. It's okay for movement and post marathon or a little bit of recovery in between, but having it on an incline of 2 to 3 to 4 will help a little bit, but you can't ever replicate. It's something to do with the kickback. You don't get a true kickback off of a treadmill.
Exactly.
So you're not
taking the words out of my mouth.
So imagine you're not... With a normal running cycle, you're using 100% of a cycle. Mm-hmm. With a treadmill, you're only using a percentage of it. So then you're putting more stress through a smaller percentage of your muscles, and then you're not using the rest of them. So,
I was talking to physio about this recently, actually, and we were talking about the use of the body-weighted treadmills over the mechanical ones.
Where it's a percentage of your body weight, where you almost running in a balloon. Wait,
No.
is it not that
Where
one?
you know the ones where it's you push the treadmill
Oh,
belt
the
itself.
curve.
Yeah,
So I used to have one of those.
yeah, and that's
They
a
are
bit more of a
really-
natural
They're
run.
really good.
Yeah.
So correct me if I'm wrong, and someone else can correct me, but I believe that they use 18% more muscles than a treadmill run during that run cycle, and it improves like your gait as well, because with a treadmill you can run with very short gait and you don't get full range.
So do you mean like improve your cadence rather than your gait?
Improve your stride, maybe.
Yeah, stride might. Yeah, okay, fine.
Because it's more of a natural like running curve than a treadmill, because obviously, like I said, with a treadmill, it's like it doesn't really promote a full range of a running motion, whereas the curved almost does. Like you can't not run properly on a treadmill.
Well, because the minute you stop, it stops, right?
Yeah, and the bigger, more powerful, like your propagation. What is it?
I don't know.
Say
So
that
I'm going to say.
Propulsion.
Propulsion. Proprioception is how you feel the ground.
So the force of your foot pushing yourself forward off
propulsion.
of a propulsion.
Yeah.
Is much better on a curve than it would be on a normal treadmill.
It will be. It's just much more of a natural style.
And there's a slightly less impact as well. So it's slightly better for your body for impact compared to like running on maybe a spiked track on the road or like on a hard surface, because the curve is taking out some of that impact.
So it takes the shock absorption.
That's it. Yeah.
Anyway,
but you need to build that stuff up anyway. So it's good to do a bit of both.
Yeah.
You shouldn't train for a marathon all on a curved treadmill, but there is definitely a place for a curved treadmill and training and sessions.
It's like everything.
One place is if you ever go away and you need to do a session and you're in a really hilly resort or a really hilly place, you can't do a threshold or a paced session up a hill. It just doesn't work. So that's a good time and a good place to use a curved treadmill if you have access to one. But
so we were going to talk about recovery post marathons, really, weren't we? And what happens from my point of view and your point of view, which are quite different. So it might be worth just talking through. Everyone's going to be aching this week.
They are. So I love the theory or the saying that you head into the marathon being the fittest and the healthiest you've ever been. You end the marathon being the most broken you've ever been.
I can believe that.
So, yeah, go on. What happens to your body during the marathon?
Oh, well, okay. I mean, obviously, I'm only going to talk about it from a podiatry perspective, not like a whole body perspective. So I will be missing bits out, I'm sure. But I think it's really just about what you've put your foot through, isn't it? And leg through. So we're going to be looking at, obviously, injuries, like we said. And the damage, the little microscopic tears and damage that's happened to the obvious things like fascia, Achilles tendon, and all the small like muscles within the foot that are going to help to stabilise us. But I think it's like we should break it down into like different periods of time post marathon. So if we're looking like immediately after the race, we might want to be looking at whether there's a big thing about running post marathon. When should you run? Should you run the next day? Do you do like cool down running, shakeout running, or is that just a big myth? So yeah, I don't know what you think about that.
With the shakeout, I think it's a little bit of a fad, a little bit of a trend, but if you really, really feel like you need to do it and you're meeting up with some others that are also running the race, there's no benefit to ever doing a shakeout run, apart from maybe getting your blood going a little bit, but you could just do that but I don't understand the idea of running a 5k the day before you've got to run 26 miles. I don't know, you could do something shorter, just something easy. Don't walk too much either, because it can fatigue your legs. But yeah, I think it's just one of those things that people put on social media, just because they're so excited to run. And if you are the type of person, that does run a lot, then not running could cause you like anxiety or a feeling of like, oh, I'm not too sure what to do, maybe a little bit on edge, bit overexcited. So if like a 1 to 2 to 3 mile run the day before a marathon is going to help you relax, and then maybe help you sleep a little bit better.
Yeah, what about after?
What's
Like
that?
after the run?
A shakeout run.
Yeah.
I would do something like just try and like get some steps in at least. Yeah, just don't. But I'm not too sure. You've put your body through so much already.
Just rest it.
Running for like hours.
I mean, obviously, it will depend on your foot condition. I mean, a lot of first-time marathoners, or people that don't do marathons a lot, you're going to get blisters. You're going to have lost toenails, no doubt.
Last thing you want to do is
last thing you want to do is make that worse. So we're going to be looking at a lot of blister care, aren't we? Post marathon, that's going to be a really big thing, and the rest that is going to take rest and recovery to get better from before you start doing like mega miles again. And obviously the main thing is to be getting out of the running trainers. Although I love running trainers, as you know, I think everyone needs to be thinking about recovery slides.
Yeah, the recovery slides. Yeah, definitely. You
They're
see a lot of people
changer
with them in London Marathon.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, it's really good. But yeah, what I would say is don't do nothing after the marathon. Don't go and sit down and just do absolutely nothing. So, make a purpose of walking somewhere at least, just to keep some blood flow. And you are still recovering, but you'll recover a little bit better if you just walk a little bit more. I know we're saying you've already put your body through enough, but a gentle walk after a marathon, even just to meet some friends somewhere for like a catch up. And I would say, post-marathon, make plans to meet someone, because you really don't want to be on your own after putting your body through such a task. Plan to meet someone at the finish line and then go grab some food, grab a protein shake, because the second that you get that medal around your neck is the time that you start recovering and rebuilding, because your body is so broken. There's a lot of rebuilding that you need to do before you can start thinking about running at any kind of pace again.
So after the initial 24 hours, we know that obviously delayed onset muscle soreness is not going to happen in the first 24 hours. So
personally, it probably doesn't really hit till 2, 3, 4 days down. Do you know why? It's because you're on such a high. The dopamine, endorphins. Yeah,
that as well. Yeah, and just the way that works with the muscle.
Feeling.
So it's very tempting, I think, day 2 to not be that sore, maybe, if you're a good marathoner, and to think, I'll just pop out for a run. But then you're going to feel it 2 days later. Yeah,
I just think if you can't run nicely and smoothly, don't run nice. Don't go for a run. Yeah. And people are struggling to walk up and down stairs after running a marathon, and that is quite normal.
I think also would it be worth doing a different type of exercise, like swimming or cycling?
Yes, being in water, I would say is probably what. And if you're not anywhere near a pool or the sea, then on a bike indoors, easy spin, or just go out for leisurely ride. Maybe actually plan to go out with some friends, because once again you're still in recovery phase. So I think when you're training for something, you're so focused and targeting on achieving times or completing sessions, that you afterwards you need to remove that whole thing. Everything needs to be leisurely and fun. So if you're going to go out for a cycle, it needs to just go out with a smile on your face. Don't put. It's not an effort. You're not training for anything now, so you need to take that out of your brain.
And when do everyone's hot on ice baths and that now post this kind of event? So what do you think about that? And when do you think it would be best utilised?
So scientifically, I don't know the exact time period where an ice bath would be. Obviously, there is definitely a place for ice baths, especially with recovery off of really big sessions. There was a presentation and a live podcast on stage at the London exhibition on Friday, the 2 days before the marathon, and Chris Thompson and Paul Radcliffe did their live podcast on stage. Chris Thompson said for the days following a marathon, you should have warm baths, spend your time in warm water. So don't go drastic cold, don't go drastic hot. It's just important just to go somewhere in between, lukewarm.
And then ice bathing after? Or is that not essential?
Honestly, I've not really heard of anyone promoting jumping straight into an ice bath after a marathon. Just keep it sensible.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't do anything drastic after a marathon.
It's very easy with everything on social media, isn't it, for people to just go, full in.
Yeah, it's usually, they say it, doing it for the gram, don't they? Doing
Right.
it for Instagram. And a lot of this is fads, or a lot of it is, there's some sort of marketing behind it. They might be promoted by a brand that sells the ice baths.
Yeah.
So I would say, yeah, be super sensible. Don't do anything silly. Nothing extreme hot, nothing extreme cold.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, if you have identified some sore areas in your body, so like sore joints, for instance, like some cooling, some ice around that area would be suggested, as you would suggest,
Yeah.
I would imagine. But yeah, plunging into an ice bath, I personally, I wouldn't suggest it.
Interesting. So let's think like marathoners have survived the first week, 10 days of recovery. Blisters are getting better and aches and pains are getting better. But if they're not, and we're still getting more pain, foot, ankle, leg, that's probably the time to get it sorted. We said earlier, didn't we, that most of the time that I see people is kind of 6 to 8 weeks post marathon, because they think they'll just rest it for a bit and then it'll be okay, and then that niggle never really gets any better, and by the time I see it, we've got like a raging problem. So if the initial recovery period has happened, and you're starting to feel generally better in yourself, but you've still got niggles, they're probably 2 weeks after is probably the time to start thinking about contacting someone.
Sure.
To have a little bit more in detail. Just so that the big things are not getting missed. It's very easy to get things like stress fractures if you're a new marathoner. Yeah. Especially new marathoners in the wrong trainers.
Sure.
And stress fractures don't always, they're not always agony. You can't put a foot down. They're complete, A&E jobs. They can be just really niggly pains, and I've seen quite a lot of those metatarsal fractures that kind of people can still live with, but they're just annoying, and the longer you leave them, the harder they are to heal. So if you are feeling aches and pains after the first 2 weeks post big run, that's probably the time to really start thinking about coming to see someone.
And I'm guessing when people first complete the marathon and they're in that week, or they're in that first 2 weeks, everything probably hurts. So maybe nothing hurts more than one thing, but after 2 to 3 weeks, everything else calms down, and and that's probably why a lot of people don't reach out until like 3, 4, 5 weeks down the line, when they're thinking, hang on a minute, this little niggle here is taking a long time to recover.
It's normally longer than that, by the way.
Oh, really? And they're also like thinking, what's next? I need to get training again. And they're like, I want to start training, but I've got this little niggle. Yeah. So that's when.
And actually, going back to training is a really important point. Like 2 weeks post marathon, you have pretty much probably recovered. You are thinking about going back to starting to do bits again. And it's really important, from my perspective, that you don't just pick up your marathon trainers and crack back on again. Think about how far you've run in those trainers. If you've done all your training in those trainers and then run the marathon in them, they might not be now suitable. You've got to think about the foam density. They wear out quite quickly. If anyone's in a carbon, which if you know me well enough by now, you probably shouldn't be, but they run out. The carbons wear out really quickly. Their soft foam runs out really quickly. Not the carbon plate itself doesn't wear out, but the shoe itself wears out. And therefore, you're not only you might be actually okay at 2 weeks post marathon. You start running again in your marathon trainers, and you might end up with a problem. So then, in that recovery time, it might be worth thinking about what trainers you are running in and what you're going to do from now. If you're training for another marathon, or if you're training for another event, or if it's just easy runs. And please think about shoe rotation, because I still don't see enough people that have a decent shoe rotation.
That's a really good one. I know some people. We all laugh, actually. There's obviously, when someone's a runner because they've got a million pairs of shoes.
Yep.
And that's it almost should be normal.
It is, yes, I agree.
It should be normal to have a daily trainer, a recovery trainer, a race shoe.
Yes.
So,
Absolutely.
So justify that to partners when you've got 6 pairs of shoes.
I can write letters if they need them.
You need some trail shoes, maybe some track spikes.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're within the... Let's say we're still within the same 1 to 2 weeks following the marathon. or following a really, really hard race or something that you've competed in. So I wrote down 10 anti-inflammatory foods which are really important to obviously promote recovery. So fatty fish, salmon, mackerel, sardines, berries, blueberries, strawberries, raspberries, tart cherries, leafy greens like spinach, kale, turmeric, extra virgin olive oil, walnuts, broccoli, avocados, and ginger. You could add them into your diet if you're like in high intensity training as well, because they will help your body recover and reduce swelling. I wrote down 10 high protein foods, and sorry if you're like vegans or vegetarians, because there is some meat options in here. There's also non-meat options here too. So eggs, chicken breast, salmon, Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, lean beef, turkey, lentils, whey protein. You can get them in powder, or you can have like plant-based protein powders as well. Tofu and tempeh. Also, I wrote down 10 carbohydrates that you should be consuming as well to promote recovery, and that's white rice, potatoes, white or sweet, oats, oatmeal, bananas, pasta, bread, sourdough or white, rice cakes, berries, honey or quinoa.
Very good.
I thought that was... So, nutrition after hard sessions and like hard race is really important. Hydration, replenishing your electrolytes and replenishing all the vitamins that you might have and nutrients that you might have lost. Another not really talked about recovery tool post event is good sleep.
Yeah, I can imagine that helps not only from a physiological point of view, from your body recovering, but also mentally.
Let's say we're now like 2 to 3 weeks, 2 to 4 weeks. What are your thoughts on biomechanics in the foot? Have feet recovered at that time?
Yes, if biomechanically they're strong, we've not ended up with, major injuries. Okay, like blisters and toenails falling off, that's fine. But if you've not got like a major injury, then absolutely, yeah, there is no reason why we can't kind of start returning to normal at 2 weeks if your biomechanics is strong going into it. Sure. Obviously, if we're still getting niggles, we've still got Achilles tendon issues, we've got post-tib pain, basically anything, any pain, discomfort anywhere, that's the time I want to see you before you start going crazy back into running. But so absolutely, biomechanics and gait should have returned to normal by about 2 weeks.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on Eilish McColgan running through?
Well, anyone that follows me on Instagram knows full well that I've posted quite a lot about this recently. Yep. And I've actually spoken to her about it, only via Instagram, not physically spoken to her. But she's been really interesting, actually really encouraging. But those elite athletes, their mindset is so amazing. Yeah. They can get through what the average person can't.
Resilience.
Yeah, it's resilience, and just mind strength is phenomenal. So don't, as I always say, don't compare, right? Don't try and compare yourself to her, because you're never going to, unless you're an elite athlete, you're never going to make that. I've seen that blister since on a picture, and it's going to take a little while to recover from it. It looks really sore. It is more than just a blister.
I guess it's on the lines of like a 3rd degree burn, isn't it? By the time of a blister, skin peels off. Yeah,
skin's peeled off, and it just shows you that these elite athletes that do this, day in, day out, they are so prepped. They have the best equipment, the best trainers. Everything's at its prime, and yet they still get these injuries.
And she said she was well trained in those shoes.
Yeah, of course
as well.
She was. Yeah. And I just think it just shows you that don't expect to ever do a marathon or any decent distance without getting some of that, because your body, even if your biomechanics is pretty spot on, which it will be with these elite runners, their biomechanics is amazing.
I'm not sure about Eilish.
I know, I felt really sorry for her.
She's just a very different breed, I think.
She's amazing.
Yeah, her running gait, her biomechanics doesn't look like
do you know, actually, that's interesting. If you break down the biomechanics of a lot of those elite runners, especially those podium winners, if you really look at their biomechanics and their running style, it wouldn't be what you would coach someone to run at. Yeah. But they are a different league of person, and it's what I just said. You almost can't compare yourself. An average person doesn't do that. So yes, okay, their biomechanics isn't perfect, is imperfect from a textbook, but it perfectly works. So
exactly the results.
It works, and it's obvious, isn't it?
They say that with Sebastian Soy, who is the first person to ever achieve a sub-2 marathon, he runs off his toe, which is very rare for a marathon runner.
I've seen his biomechanics in slow-mo, but we also have to remember a lot of the biomechanics everyone is commenting on Instagram on him and his running style is taken from snapshots that people have taken pictures of. Like that's not a controlled environment to view. I'm not going to comment on someone's gait analysis taken off a random picture that someone's posted on Instagram or video. It's just not accurate enough. So I wouldn't want to comment either way. Without seeing him in my own clinic with my own equipment, I'm not going to be one of those Instagrammers that's like, he's running wrong. I think it's just the way, maybe the angle that it's been taken at. A lot of those shots where I've seen such conflicting opinions on his biomechanics. And it is just because from a different angle, it looks entirely different. Bear in mind, we weren't there looking at it in real life. So, it goes back to not comparing, doesn't it? And that's what I'm, if we're going to go down that track, is that how nervous and sad I am that everyone has just gone out and bought those trainers.
Not everyone can afford them. They're like £400 or £500.
They sold out crazy.
He ran in.
I know people that have bought them. Why did they buy them? Because
some rich people or some silly people.
Just people that just think, well, he did it in those. I could do that. It's just a ridiculous concept. Like, remember, everybody, you are not an elite runner. Most of you. Suddenly wearing those trainers is not going to make you that. And actually what it's going to do is give you an injury because your body, let's be honest, is not that. And you are going to end up with all sorts of complex things. So not only have you just spent £500 or whatever, they're now reselling at thousands on a pair of trainers. And let's be honest, those trainers are going to run out in a marathon. They are not designed. They're so specific and so elite. They are not designed to take miles. So you're going to wear them for 50 miles, maybe. And then they're going to be redundant. So you spent £500, or if you've resold them.
How much is that a mile?
Oh gosh, we should work that out.
Let's move on.
Okay, my maths isn't that good. I'm anxious. I mean, I'm going to see so many patients off the back of that.
Oh, it's good for you. You'll be rolling in it.
It's good for me, good for Adidas, but not good for patients.
I always remember back to when Adidas brought the Predator football boot out.
Yeah, I
with
remember
David
that.
Beckham.
Yeah,
and everyone bought them
it
because they wanted to be as good as David Beckham.
And it probably just ended up with injuries. It's the same. Yeah. So if you've bought it to, because you want to own a pair and put it in a cabinet and go, I own the same pair, that he owned, that's totally fine. But please don't run in them unless you're an elite runner, because you're going to end up with injuries. Trust me.
Sebastian Soy, if you are listening, can we get you into Sian's clinic?
Yes, please.
I'd like to see this as well.
It'll be free.
Also, congratulations to the women's winner as well. That's a new, I think they called it women only world record, where they set the women off in the line. So.
Do you know what? Well done to everyone that did it. Like whether you were, sub-2ing it or whether you came in, 6 hours or whatever. It's almost. I'm still impressed because I don't run. So
I always say. There's some different things so if you say, they always say like parkrun's not a race, but I always say if you say ready, steady, go, it's a race. It's a race for sure. Or are you on your marks, get set, go? It's a race. No matter what you're doing, it's a race. But if you finish a race, you win. Every race you finish, you win.
Yeah.
So that's the way we should all look at, especially a marathon.
Or even
you
if you didn't finish.
Even
if you didn't finish because you had to pull out because of injury, which we saw a lot of in the London, but you've seen every run.
There's the other saying is you win or you learn. So why did you get injured?
Right.
What do you learn? And you can learn a lot from not winning as well. You can learn more from not winning than you do from.
It's hard. It must be so hard at the time. And it also relights that fire. So yeah, I've come back so much stronger after really difficult time. So when I did the London Marathon in 2022 or 23, I had to swap out the bike. Some of my bigger sessions with the bike because I was still recovering from plantar fasciitis, and I was doing some really long bike sessions. I was doing 60, 70, 80 miles instead of a 15-mile long run. Yeah. So I was alternating, so I wasn't doing too much, and I paid the price. Everything was going all right until I got to around mile 18. Yeah, it's always
and
mile
then
18.
the wheels. Yeah, it's a Canary Wolf. No. The wheels come off bad, and I was at halfway, I was cruising, I was fine. But that just goes to show that you think you're trained, you should do the training right. You shouldn't cheat the training. You should always respect the marathon. But there is a saying that the marathon always wins as well, because it's such a tough challenge.
Yeah, I mean, I've worked in medical tents, London marathons for many years, not recently, but I have done.
Yeah.
And I've worked in the elite tents, and the physical condition, even the elite athletes come off on, you think, like, it's mad that the average person can even get through it, in no matter what the time is.
Exactly.
Because the elite athletes, they don't come off healthy either.
What I was saying about when I did the marathon and the wheels come off at like mile 18, I learnt from that you can't cheat training, because I tried to cheat training by supplementing or swapping out the longer runs with some of the longer cycles. And there is a place for cycling for sure. Like, in the future, I will always keep cycling in, even if it swaps out some of the recovery runs for like a ride, or like indoor or outdoor or a swim is just as good as recovery as a recovery run, if not better, because you're taking some time off of your feet, but you're still doing the active recovery. So yeah, if I learned anything from doing that and failed, I call that I failed, because you have a plan and the plan doesn't quite go to plan because of your body wasn't prepared correctly for it. But I learned a lot. I learned more from that than anything, and I came back and if anything, I trained and I ticked every single box and I didn't cheat anything. And then I came back like 2 or 3 years later and went like 20 minutes faster. So if you didn't manage to achieve the time, or you did hit the wall and you did struggle to get over that wall, and you left the race feeling a little bit disappointed, use that to light that fire to, go train better, more wiser. Maybe just look back at the training that you did for the marathon that you've just done and find out why that happened. And just, for me, I would say make sure that never happens again. I remember my dad said to me after that, saying, "You're never running a marathon again." And I kind of had to accept it at the time, because I couldn't see properly and I couldn't raise my arms. I was in a right bad state. But in my mind, on the coach on the way home, I was distraught, I was upset, and we can talk about that as well, about like post-marathon feelings. But in my mind on the way home, just having some really deep thoughts, thinking, there's no rush to come back and do another marathon. I've got nothing to prove to anyone or myself, but I believe I can do better. I just need more time, and I need to do it more professional, more correct. Hydrate well, train well, fuel well, take no shortcuts. So yeah, if anything that I learnt from that is do it properly.
Yeah, I feel like we've talked a lot about recovery post this marathon, but it's going to take a year until the next one to get ready. And I know I've got quite a few patients that sadly had to defer this year because of injury, and now's the time to come back and see me, get back in, and we can get that really, get you ready, rather than leaving it to 3 months before. We're fighting against it again. So all of those that have got injuries that want to do the marathon next year, or another, it doesn't have to be the marathon, London marathon, it could be anything, but get in earlier rather than later. Let's have a look at that gait and any injuries so we can prep your body. Yeah,
you want to build on solid foundations.
Of course.
If you're starting with something that's causing your biomechanics to alter or adjust how you run, then you're going to have knock-on effects of injuries. So if you've got something on one side of your foot, you might run slightly more on the other side of your foot. Therefore, it's going to have a knock-on effect to your knee and your hip. Yeah. And then it could actually cause an injury on your other side of your body because you're overloading the other side, or you're rocking, or it's you have pelvic tilt. Is that the rock one?
Pelvic tilt is quite common.
Anterior pelvic tilt.
It's quite common in runners.
And hip drop, that hip drop is the other one, where it's you're almost rocking, which is quite unhealthy really over a long period of time. I probably see that in 90% of my runners. Right. And even your elite runners still do that quite a bit. Yeah. But that's for another time. That's strengthening your core, and all comes back down to strength training. It does, yeah. How many times this week have I said? If any of my patients are listening and they've seen me this week, they'll know I've said this about 300 times this week. Strength training is the key, and I know we've spoken about it before, so I won't bang on about it, but you have to do strength training if you've got any hope. You can't just go out there and run. Some people are really, really lucky and they can get away with it. They like, but
you've got to have near
it's
perfect
high risk.
biomechanics.
It's high risk for sure.
Unless someone has told you your biomechanics is spot on, I would be very dubious about that. And it depends on the distance as well, doesn't it? Like if you're talking, if you've got very, very good biomechanics, you could probably get away with doing a marathon like the elite runners without probably too much strength training. Bear in mind, though, when I talk strength training, I don't mean like in a gym lifting heavy weights necessarily, right? I'm talking about making sure the tissues, especially in the lower leg, but hip, core as well, are used to taking the load, right? It's all loading back. So if you look at those elite runners, and I'm not trying to compare at all, but like, yes, they're not in a gym lifting, they're not body, like really strong weightlifters.
Yeah, they're not like developing muscle.
No, they are just
mass.
making sure that their muscles can take the repetitive strain and workload. So it might be worth another podcast on that. Because that could go on for ages. But yeah.
I've been in that cycle for like 18 months now. I'm completely rebuilding from the strength. I've had like 3 different plans now over 18 months, and we can, like you said, we can talk about the rebuild.
Might be worth it.
Maybe the next one we do is about the rebuild.
Because I think a lot of runners forget about, especially up to marathon distance. Ultra marathoners, they tend to be a little bit better at it because their bodies have to really manage the stress put through them. Yeah. So they tend to put the time into it a bit more. But up to marathon distance, I would say the majority of runners don't look at not only strength training, but like we just said about loading injuries and loading training, if you like, and making sure the small muscles, so the intrinsic muscles of the foot, the little tiny movements, the repetitive movements are done in your training. And I would probably, I don't know the percentage, but I bet 90% of my runners don't do that. Yeah. Ultra marathoners a little bit different. They tend to put the time and the effort into the repetitiveness of it, because their bodies have to handle it in a totally different way. And maybe we should do another podcast on we've done a podcast on the marathon, but maybe we should do an ultra marathon one as a.
Yeah, sure. I've got some other like guests, like runners that are at different stages of, like from elite to grassroots athletes that I know and I talk to regularly about their stages of recovery post or even like pre-operation, what they're doing to keep themselves ticking along, not causing any more problems, but also doing their best to retain some kind of fitness, because that's like quite a difficult place as well. So we can do. And sorry, like we keep scooting around on this podcast, but one thing that I sort of mentioned it a few minutes ago, is we didn't mention like the psychological effects of running a marathon. And I know we said that we were now up to the 2 to 4 weeks, and but the runner's high is the highest high you'll ever get after like running a marathon for about 48 hours. Maybe if you run it on a Sunday, you may even take it into Wednesday. Then the DOMS, and then the lost feeling. You can't run. You've lost your structure. Before the marathon, everything was leading to that point. It was your main focus. It was your main goal. Every training session, you tick off. You wake up, you know what you've got to do that day. You know what you've got to do tomorrow. You've got all your meals set up. You know what time you're eating because you've got training at that particular time. For the 2 weeks after a marathon, that whole structure's gone. The goal's no longer there. So one thing, so I'm like, all I'm doing is like reciting some things I've seen on social media. Only things that I do actually believe in is one thing that you should do after you run a marathon is wear your medal of pride, celebrate with friends, and drag that celebration out for as long as you can. Post it around, wear your medal to work if you want, get all the attention, because you do deserve the attention, and you do deserve to be happy and proud that you've accomplished something that not many people accomplish in their lives. I think there's like 5% of the population complete a marathon, something like. Obviously, it's getting more and more. Like the numbers are raising. But yeah, you are in like an elite part of the population that have completed something extraordinary. So you should be proud of that, and no one can ever take that away from you. So never think negatively or feel low after it. But yeah, for the 2 weeks after, focus on good sleep, spending time with friends, and who are all the people that you didn't manage to see leading up to marathon because you were so busy training. All of a sudden, you've got a little bit of time back. go see some friends, meet up for lunch, tell them about the marathon, or if you're sick of the marathon, talk about life, maybe plan a holiday, and gradually maybe start thinking about what's next. What a lot of people that I know do is they'll recover, they spend the time, usually what they say is every mile raced is a day you need to recover before you can put an effort back in. So for a marathon, let's talk about a month really before you should really even look at racing again. So I'm part of a running club, part of some running groups. Over the summer, following a marathon, they'd more focus on like a shorter, speedier stuff. So 5k training, VO2 max training, get a little bit their leg turnover a little bit faster, come away from the slugs. So that's like, something fun to look forward to. You got better weather now. Obviously, in the winter, it was quite a tough one for me because I did my Amsterdam Marathon in October. So I think I had there was 2 more races left of that, and then everything sort of winds down to cross country season. So, and that's cross country is a good way to recover from a marathon as well. If I'm honest, if you just take the pressure off yourself and don't race it, because running on soft terrain about 3 or 4 weeks or after running a marathon is a really good idea too. But yeah, you've done something amazing. So keep positive, make plans with friends. Maybe pencil in something else in 3 or 4 months' time, a smaller goal that you can work towards, just to pull you out of that little hole that you might find yourself in. Some people don't struggle with it. Some people don't feel low after it. So, but I did. I was completely lost. I even kind of self-diagnosed myself. I was like, why do I feel like this? I've just achieved. So I was. One part of me was like, oh, you're amazing. You've done something amazing. The other part of me was like, you're lost. You've got no structure. You don't know what you're doing with your life. It's really strange how being on a plan affects the rest of your life. Like for me personally, it's like everything's better when I'm on a training plan. I'm better at work, more sufficient, more efficient.
Yeah.
Happier, better with my family. So yeah. So don't rush to go back into something, but do plan to start working on something soon. Otherwise, you got to jump back on that horse sometime.
Yeah,
you don't want to make that marathon the thing and then completely lose your fitness.
No,
and then
like you
look
said,
back on it.
Yeah, it's something to look forward to, isn't it?
Yeah. The other thing is with post-race recovery is how well did you train for the marathon in the first place? Did you build up your cumulative fatigue? Are you used to recovering from those big miles? Because there's a lot of people that undertrain for the marathon that, they're not, I know it sounds silly, but they're not actually runners. They just manage to sign up for a marathon, get a charity place, and just do what it did to complete the 26 miles. So their recovery is going to be a lot different because they're probably not going to be overly excited about going out for another run. They've done what they needed to do. What do they do now? So even for those people, I would say try go swimming. Try and just enjoy your life, being active. Don't do nothing. Okay, so we're now up to a month after the marathon.
Yeah. We've recovered, hopefully, foot-wise.
Yeah.
And if you haven't, you should be coming in to see me. There's obviously an injury we need to deal with. But from an initial, blisters forming and toenails falling off and all of that, swelling, which is obviously going to happen post marathon, should all be well settled. So we should be returning to normal activity.
Let's say, I'll give you an example. Let's say, so someone is now close to recovering and recovered. So now they want to start working on their speed. Yep. What should they be thinking about with footwear and?
Well, tempo footwear is very different. If you suddenly want to go, okay, for the next race I want to, do a better time, or I want to smash my PB or whatever it is. If you suddenly want to increase tempo, we need to increase tempo slowly, and I'll let you and, all the running coaches out there to kind of lead on that. But from a footwear point of view, obviously it comes back down to strength training regarding the foot biomechanics. Footwear, you're going to be looking, don't go straight into a carbon, which is what a lot of people want to do. They think, I want to run faster, I'll get a carbon trainer. Going to end up with injuries. You need to start off with something in between, I would say. So lighter than your daily run trainer, with slightly less stack height, so something that's a little bit more responsive. Normally with a tempo trainer, you're looking for a bigger propulsion, so more of a rocker off of the forefoot, to be able to push you forward quicker, basically. So you're looking for the lightness of the trainer and the propulsion mechanism within that trainer. You can get a lot of kind of nylon plates or rigid framed to give you a bit more of a sensation of carbon without going crazy and getting that. But everything has to be done with rotation. So if you're increasing tempo, you suddenly want to increase your tempo. You don't do tempo runs every day in a tempo trainer. You should still be doing easy runs in an easy trainer. So there definitely is, but it would be too hard for me to say as a general rule of thumb, this is the trainer you should buy for all tempo runs, because it totally depends on the runner. Like what striker they are, their cadence, their distance, their biomechanics. So there's a whole range of different tempo trainers, and I'm sure you can come to me if you want to know more about that. But yeah, all I would say is don't go carbon.
Yeah, I agree. I'm now back to Brooks running shoes.
Yes, have you got rid of your Alpha Flies?
Oh no, they're still up there already. So let's say, they've been dethroned, the Alpha Flies, haven't they? No, the Adidas now. They're the king. No, I would say, when I first started running, I wasn't running in carbon plates, and then you start spending your time with others that are a little bit faster than you. You progress.
Tempting, isn't it?
You find yourself in the circles, and then you don't want to be the only one not wearing one. But then you're risking chance of injury.
And they're so accessible. Most people buy their running trainers online these days, and it's too easy to click that button and go, I'll just buy a carbon, without actually asking anybody if that's suitable for you or not. And I know we've done a whole podcast on carbon, so I'm not going to go mental about it, but just if you want to increase tempo, go for and you've never done it before, you need to go less is more first.
And something that I'm trying to do more these days is wear like a slightly more minimal shoe to walk, like not training, as in to walk around in. So
daily life stuff.
Yeah, so my foot, I was speaking to Bobby at Active Running, and he showed me his trainers when I was down there, because I wore my really, really flat trainers. We joked about how like rubbish they look. There's literally, there's no, it encourages your foot to do exactly what your foot's supposed to do, like full foot walking.
Right, so I have a lot of things to add to that.
That's why I've mentioned it.
We should do another podcast on.
I'm like casting the line here.
Yeah, I agree and disagree with you in that if you're always in a high stack height, super plush, heavy trainer that you might wear on a daily run all the time, then your foot is going to somewhat get used to that. And therefore you lose the strength that we've just talked about. But if you're going to go extreme and you want to go, well, if I wear these for my daily life, they're really like almost barefoot shoes, then your foot structure and biomechanics can't cope with the alternation between the two too drastically. It doesn't really work that today I'm going to wear my barefoot shoes and tomorrow I'm going to wear my super plush Hoka Bondi 9. Like your foot in fact, that will give you an injury because your body can't cope with the change. Right, so I agree with you that you shouldn't always be wearing your super plush trainers all the time, and that's why shoe rotation is really important when we're talking about running. But it is the same in daily life, that you shouldn't be wearing one type of shoe all of the time. Too much of something is not good. But I don't agree that if you suddenly just put a barefoot on today and go walking out, it's going to suddenly strengthen all those muscles that you lost last week wearing your plush trainers. It doesn't quite work as quickly as that.
Would it? If you let's say if you got into a habit of it. There's even a pair of Vans. They're like, there's not really much under them, is there?
No.
Oh no, have I just hooked you in again?
Don't start me off.
I'm pushing the buttons here. Because they're like minimal, aren't they? Is that like Converse, Vans?
Oh God, I'm going to start twitching in the corner now.
God.
Okay, but with those shoes, you have zero support. They are flat as a pancake, and your foot has to hold them on, because there's no structure around them at all, right? You're better off barefoot than you would be in a Van or a Skechers.
But they're such common shoes, aren't they?
It doesn't mean they're good for you. Those Skechers is a common shoe. It doesn't mean they're good for you.
What do you think of those?
Oh, here we go. Sean's ranting podcast.
Yeah, we're moving off topic.
We have gone way off topic. Let's do that another day. Let's do fashion trainers as another podcast.
Okay, let's
rein it back in.
Let's connect the two. What sort of trainer would you wear just to for lifestyle post marathon?
Depends on the person, but you can't. So it's really dependent.
Just as in just a normal trainer, like anyone called like a type or style trainer.
Hoka Bondi.
What, as in just normal
daily life.
wear?
Yeah.
What about a lot of people wear ons for daily life?
Yes and no. Yeah. Yes, actually, for daily life, you'll see me in ons if anyone's seen me, so I'm not going to criticise them too much. And actually, yes, some of the ons, I am specific about which ones. But yes, generally I'm okay with an on. They are very flat, so if you have naturally a flat foot, you overpronate a lot, even on daily walking, you're hypermobile, then ons are not going to work for you. They are too flat and too flexible. But assuming we don't have those issues, or if you have an orthotic to correct that, then an on is fine. Yeah, daily life, what I call pub trainers.
Yeah.
So they look nice, so you can go to the pub in them, but they still give you some functionality and support.
Okay. Is there anything that runners could do, or even anyone could do every morning for 10 minutes to strengthen their feet?
Yep. There's lots of muscle strengthening exercises out there. You only really have to Google them to find out. But you are looking at the intrinsic muscles of the foot. So those small muscles that sit between the metatarsal bones themselves, they're the ones you want to really get nice and strong. They're the ones that are going to support you, along with things like big toe functionality. So you want to get a resistance band. And it's too hard for me to explain without a visual. But maybe we could do a visual at some point. Yeah. But have a look online, Google it. But big toe strengthening, that's going to help you with propulsion. You can do that by using a resistance band. That's probably a good one. Ankle stability, so kind of tiptoes and down, dropping down on a stair. Yeah. For Achilles, keeping Achilles really good and strong and tight. They're probably the ones I, from a podiatry point of view, would want to focus on. But as I say, it's a bit too hard for me to explain them all like this. But as I say, maybe we could do a video at some point.
I've at the running show on Friday, I've gone through periods of buying fad items, but I feel like I've got a really strong filter now where I have to really strongly believe in something. There was a little bit of a sales pitch there by I think it's a guy that's invented something. It's like an arch with a padded cork.
I know, I've got one.
And it makes a circle. You can get free, and it makes so it's called Eastnol.
Yeah.
So we went through it, and I did all my heel calf raises and all different types of stretching. And I thought because I've being from in the gym and I'm trying to do these things in normal daily life, trying to do these type of workouts with your feet, generally you've got to find some sort of step and it hurts. So to find something that didn't actually hurt, but I felt the stretch and I could hold the stretch, or I could do more reps and wasn't fatiguing the same, and it wasn't painful. So a few hours later, I decided to go back to this guy. Yeah. Spent a bit of money on it, so I've got one now in the lounge.
Yeah,
so
they're good.
Have you actually got one?
I've got one, and I've got a plantar, what they call plantar pad, and I actually sell those in clinics. So I've got the plantar pads in clinic if anybody wants them. And they do the same job, and they are actually really important, especially for stretching out that fascia. You said you have fasciitis or struggled with that, and a lot of runners do. If anyone's been, I don't believe there's a runner around there that hasn't had fasciitis at some point in their life. Yeah. That's maybe a big assumption, but it's really common, is what I'm trying to say. So I think a plantar pad or that, I think they are really good ideas.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, so
and they're relatively reasonable.
That's a new little habit that I'm trying to work out into a new routine.
It will give you less chance of injury. It will also stop your muscles fatiguing. But we have to remember that anything foot-wise is not going to affect just your foot. If your foot functionality is better, your biomechanics is better, your alignment is going to be better. Therefore, your ankles, your knees, your hips, like you were talking about earlier, your lower back is going to be better.
So we are now over a month after completing the marathon. You should now be remembering the marathon with really good memories. That's really poor spoken English there.
We know what you mean.
Something you should keep forever, something you should be proud of forever. But come on, it's time to get going again. Let's not go straight into a big session. If you have a coach or you know a coach, you should reach out because you want some kind of plan to get back into these sessions. What you don't want to do is have no sessions for a month and then go and smash a huge session. You could ruin yourself and you could put your recovery back. You could delay your recovery. So
yeah, I think new runners or new first time marathoners particularly, or if you're planning to do it for next year, first time, I think a running coach session, even one, is a smashing idea.
Yeah. Anything else?
I don't think so. Obviously, we're only not even a week post marathon yet, so we've been talking about 4 weeks post marathon. We're not even a week, but it's still a bit of recovery to go. I'm sure for a lot of people. I'm sure there's some sore toes still out there.
Yeah. I do have one question actually, and you always get worried when I have these questions. So I see on social media that you were going to start running. Is there an update to this?
It didn't happen. I'm not.
Or is this on April the 1st?
No. I had grand plans, but I don't know how you'll do it. Honestly, I do take my hat off to you. And I think I've said before in this podcast, I'm about the only person that deals and talks about running and running podiatry all day, every day, and doesn't run. I'm so self-conscious. I feel like such a wally.
I've got an idea for the next episode, maybe the next one or one future episode. So I've got mobile mics.
Oh, God.
You come to me
and
we'll go on my little running route.
Do you know what's annoying is I have the best trainer. I have some really good trainer. I have a great shoe rotation.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
But
for life.
I just look like such an wally. And as I say, I just keep thinking I'll go somewhere quiet and no one will see me. But then every time I turn a corner, there's a dog walker or a car, and I'm like, I can't do it now.
Okay, next
time.
So
I just chickened out every time I do this. I've done it quite a lot in my life. I think I'm going to do this, and I get all the way outside. I get to go. And then I go, I can't do it.
Okay, this is a challenge.
It's a self-confidence thing, isn't it?
This is a challenge for me to get you to. So next time when you come to the podcast,
we'll talk about this.
Wear your own stuff.
we'll talk about that off the podcast.
She's very careful with committing.
I'm not going to commit to that. You haven't seen me running. I just as I say, it's like
dancing. There's no such thing as bad dancing.
Oh, I could dance. I'll do that. Give me a glass of wine and I'll dance. I just feel like it's it's a deep-seated lack of self-confidence, which anybody that knows me on this probably thinks, what is she talking about? Because she can talk like the hind leg of a donkey.
I've got an idea.
I'm so self-conscious, I can't do it.
I've recently seen a run, like a race, advertised, and I think it was called the beer marathon. I wonder if there's a wine marathon, and then I could sign you up.
I might be in.
Imagine a 5k, every 1k you've got to sip sip a glass.
One sip? Oh, no, it'd have to be a whole glass.
Or a glass.
I'm not going to sip.
Maybe if you have one glass. I think there's 5 glasses in one bottle. So there you go.
Let's do that then. Yeah. I could smash that.
I'll sign you up.
I'm there next week.
All right.
Right. Okay, that's been interesting. If anybody's got any questions that they want to send over to us, feel free. We'll come back next time.
Sure. Maybe on the trails.
Yeah, we can do one on trails.
No, me and you running.
Oh, me running. Oh, no, we're not doing that.
There you go. I think we've covered most of what we both had in mind for this episode. But what I would say is from my perspective, it's I use some of my experience and the people that I know feedback as everything that I talk about. So don't ever take it completely as true. And especially, obviously, we've talked about the ice bath. If I believe something, I'll say, I believe you should do this. But with the ice bath, I'm not too sure about that one. But
I mean, at the end of the day, all of the things we say on this podcast, and everybody does on other podcasts as well, it's just our opinion, right?
Yeah.
And I know I come across with quite strong opinions on certain shoes, and I do get a lot of grief for that. But it's just my opinion of experience of doing it for 20 odd years.
And it might change next week.
No, it won't change if we're talking about carbons.
All right. Good to see you.
Yeah, we'll talk again next week.
Cool.
See you later. Bye.